Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I go by Hiram or Bogwa. Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm continuing with the object-oriented programming concepts, and today we'll be covering polymorphism. So when we talk about polymorphism, what we mean is classes that can take up multiple forms, and these are specifically classes that are inheriting from another class. So an example would be a student class that inherits from a user class, and now I'll show you an actual code example. So here I'm continuing with the program that I started with inheritance. So if you haven't seen that, go watch that and then go watch abstraction video and then come to this. Now, as we can see here, we have our objects. So just to review, we have our user object, which is then inherited by the teacher, student, and admin. So now I'm going to show you how we can assign this admin, student, and teacher object to the type user. So let's go back to our main runner class. And now I'll first import that user class. And now I'll do the assignment. Now, as you can see here, we're defining this user type variables. So for student, teacher, and admin, they're of type user. But when it comes to defining them, we're actually saying equals new student, equals new teacher, equals new admin. We're not actually saying that it equals new user. So one thing to remember is, first of all, you can't initialize an abstract class. So that's already out the window. But just to show you that anytime a class inherits from another class, so even if this class was not abstract, anytime a class inherits from another class, that class can now take up the form of the parent class. And now I'll go ahead and run this. And as you can see, it prints the data out, prints the student data, teacher data, and also admin data. So now I'm going to create another package and show you another example of polymorphism, and also introduce interface, which is something that we haven't covered yet. Then in here, file new class, I'll call it dog. New cat. New class lion. And then now I'll create the interface. So file new, go to Java class, and then you click on interface, and then I'm going to call this animal. So note the syntax for an interface: public interface, and then the name of the interface. So what an interface is, it's just another abstract class. So the difference between the user class and the animal interface is that the animal interface is a complete abstract class. So everything inside here must be abstract. So let me clear this now. And I'll define an abstract method in here. So now, as you can see, with that interface class, whenever we define our abstract methods, we no longer need to add the keyword abstract, since everything in that interface is already considered to be abstract. So here, we just implement animal. Then hover over that, implement that method. So one thing to notice here, the difference between the abstract class and the interface, we implement the interface. The best way to think about that is the interface has zero implementation. So we're going to implement that interface. We're not going to extend that interface. But when it comes to the abstract class, we extend the abstract class, since the abstract class has some methods that are complete. So I'll go ahead and implement the interface for the other classes. And then I'll print out some sounds. So let's go ahead and print this data out in the main class. So these classes have implemented the interface, and then they've added an implementation of the interface methods. So I'll go ahead and run this. So now, as you can see, the animal sounds, we have a cat will meow, a dog will bark, a lion will roar. Going back to the concept of polymorphism, if we were able to convert this student to be an off-type user, we can do the same thing when it comes to interface. So I'll go ahead and modify this. And then I'll run it. And as you can see, we still get the same printouts. So why would we utilize the interface instead of just abstract class? Well, something that's powerful with interfaces is we can implement multiple interfaces. Compared to the inheritance case with the abstract class, we can only inherit from one class. We can never inherit from multiple classes. But when it comes to the interface, we can have multiple interfaces. So I'll go ahead and add a couple other interfaces. So file, new, interface, domestic animal, file, new, interface, wild animal. And as you can guess, we can now go ahead to our objects, the cat. So we implement animal, and we also implement domestic animal. Same thing for the dog. And then the lion, we can implement wild animal. So something powerful that we can do now is here I can come and convert this cat to be of type domestic animal. Now note, this assignment works perfectly, but now that method make sound is no longer available. And that's because that method is only available in the animal type, right? So if I was to assign this to be of type cat, the method is there and it works fine. If I was to make it of type animal, it works fine. And that's because our animal interface has that method. But if we look at our domestic animal interface, it does not have that. So whenever we convert this to be of type domestic animal, we lose access to this make a sound method, right? So this is really what we mean when we say polymorphism. This cat object, which we define as a new cat, now takes on the form of the domestic animal. And as we can see in our domestic animal interface, we don't have anything defined here. Now, if we were to define a method in here, if we go back here now, this cat object will now have that print domestic animal details method. And if we go to the cat class, we're now required to implement that method. Same thing for the dog. We're now required to implement that method. So now that's the power of polymorphism, in that my cat can take on the form cat, It can take on the form animal, and it can also take on the form domestic animal. And again, with the interfaces, you can have as many as you want. But with the extension of a class, you can only extend one class. And I'll end this here and see you next time. Thank you for watching my tutorials. Give it a thumbs up if you like it, and subscribe if you haven't. And also check me out on Instagram at coderush.io.